Today we're going to show you everything you need to know about prepping a motorhome for rent. First, your motorhome needs to pass the service pre-check. To start doing your service pre-check on a motorhome, we're going to want to plug in the motorhome to a 30 amp power source. We'll also be able to test all the water functions inside the motorhome using the city water hookup. Here's everything you're going to need to check on the exterior of your motorhome. It's important to check the engine oil before every rental. Start by parking the motorhome on a level surface and ensuring the engine is off and cool. Locate the hood latch, typically found inside the cab, and open the hood. Make sure it's securely propped open to avoid accidental closure. Next, find the dipstick, which is often marked with a brightly colored handle for easy identification. Pull the dipstick out and wipe it clean with a rag or paper towel. Reinsert it fully into the tube and pull it out again to check the oil level. The oil level should be between the min and max markers. If the level is below the minimum, the oil needs to be topped off. After confirming the oil level, securely replace the dipstick and close the hood. If the oil needs to be topped off, use the type of oil recommended for the motorhome. Start by parking the motorhome on a level surface and making sure the engine is off and cool. Never check the antifreeze while the engine is hot, as pressure in the system can cause burns. Locate the coolant reservoir, which is typically a translucent tank near the front of the engine bay. Check the antifreeze level by observing the liquid through the side of the reservoir. The level should be between the min and max lines. If it's below min, coolant needs to be added. Use the correct type recommended for the motorhome. Carefully unscrew the reservoir cap and pour the coolant in until it reaches the max line. Avoid overfilling the tank. After adding coolant, securely replace the reservoir cap to prevent leaks. Locate the windshield wiper fluid reservoir, which is typically marked with a cap featuring a windshield icon. Open the cap and check the fluid level. Many reservoirs are translucent, allowing you to see if the fluid is near the full line. If it's low, refill is needed. Use a wiper fluid designated for vehicles and rated for the current weather conditions, such as antifreeze fluid for winter. Carefully pour the fluid into the reservoir until it reaches the full line. Avoid overfilling to allow proper circulation. After refilling, securely replace the cap to prevent leaks. Checking the oil on your generator, you'll twist your knobs on your faceplate, remove the faceplate, and remove your oil dipstick to check the oil level. You'll remove it, wipe it off, put it back in, screw it in, and then unscrew it, pull back out. Make sure you have oil from tip to tip. Turn on the motorhome's ignition to power the electrical system. There is no need to start the engine. Activate the left turn signal and walk around the motorhome to confirm that both the front and rear left signal lights are working. Look for steady, bright blinking. Switch to the right turn signal and repeat the process, checking both front and rear lights. Switch on the low beams and walk to the front of the motorhome to check that both headlights are illuminated evenly and at full brightness. Next, activate the high beams. Ensure that both headlights display a brighter, higher light pattern, confirming that they are working correctly. Switch on the headlights to activate the running lights. Walk around the motorhome and confirm that all running lights, including the front, rear, and side markers, are illuminated evenly and at full brightness. Next, check the brake lights. Press and hold the brake pedal, or ask someone to assist by pressing it. Walk to the rear of the motorhome to ensure brake lights illuminate brightly when the pedal is pressed. When checking tire tread, you'll use your tread gauge and put it in the tread of the tire, making sure that you're checked from the inside all the way to the outside of the tire. If your gauge reads below the zero, the tire would need to get replaced. Anything above the zero is good to go for the renter. When checking the tire pressure on your motorhomes, each tire is going to be different, so ensure that you check the tire itself to get the max PSI. In this case, this is an 80 PSI max tire capacity. We want to ensure that our tires are filled within 10 PSI of the max PSI on the tire. The leveling and jack system on motorhomes can vary greatly depending on the make and model. Some motorhomes have automatic leveling systems, some require manual operation, and in certain cases, the leveling jacks may not be in use at all. Always refer to the motorhome's information guide for specific instructions on operating the leveling system. To begin, ensure the motorhome is parked on a stable surface and the parking brake is engaged. If the motorhome has an automatic leveling system, use the control panel to engage the system and verify that all jacks extend properly and level the motorhome evenly. For motorhomes with manual jacks, extend each jack as needed to level the motorhome. Inspect all jacks for any sign of damage, such as bent components or leaks, and ensure they are securely in contact with the ground. Ensure all doors and compartments open, close, lock, and unlock properly, including cab doors, coach doors, and exterior compartments like the shower compartment. Verify the key ring includes the correct keys for all locks. When you're looking at the awning, you want to make sure that both arms extend all the way out. There's no creases in the fabric, no holes in the fabric, tears in the fabric. And then you want to ensure that the awning system goes back in, fits snugly tight against the unit into each bracket on each side, and as well as the fabric rolls up tightly and there's no creases in the fabric. Also, when you're testing your awning, right next to your awning switch, you're typically going to have your exterior light switches. Sometimes awnings will have a LED light strip connected to the awning, as well as most campers will have your security light right outside your door. So testing that those lights are working and operating correctly is the first part of going inside your motorhome and doing the systems check. So when you're testing the system functions of your motorhome, you're first going to start with the control panel here. We want to make sure that we're checking the tank levels of the unit and recording them properly on Process Street. In this case, we're going to go through and we're going to start checking tank levels, ensuring that our gray and black tanks are both empty before the customer is to pick up. If the customer wants the fresh water filled, we'll have the fresh water filled for them, but also recording that freshwater tank level. The battery should be charging while you are doing this systems check, as it'll be plugged into shore power, and then your propane will need to be full before the customer picks up as well. If your unit has an electric water heater, then you will turn on the electric water heater while plugged into shore power. You'll wait 20 minutes until you will have hot water in that water heater, and you can check all faucets to make sure that your electric water heater is working and you're getting hot water through every faucet. When you know that your electric water heater is working, you will shut that off, and then you will go over to the propane water heater and turn that on. The propane water heater is nice. You'll be able to hear it light on the outside of the unit. It tries to light 3 times in 30 seconds. If it does not light in those first 3 tries, simply turn the switch off. Make sure that your propane is turned on the outside of the unit. If you need to purge a line, you can purge a line by starting the stovetop and allowing that to run for a minute or so, and then go back over to the propane or gas water heater switch on your control panel and turn that on. And again, you should hear the water heater ignite, which is nice about the propane side. And then again, let that heat up for about 5 to 10 minutes, as it should take a little bit less time than an electric element, and test all of your faucets for the propane water heater. Next, we're going to go over the Arctic pack. The Arctic pack is going to show us a fault. If the light does not show up, then we know that the Arctic pack, or the tank heaters for the underbelly of the holding tanks, the black, the gray, and the fresh, would be working. So if the light shows up and it stays on, those heaters are working. If you flip that switch on and the light didn't turn on, you either need to connect to shore power or your electric element for your heating pads are burnt out. We're going to be just simply testing all the light functions throughout the unit, making sure not only the light switches on the control panel are working as they should, as well as every other switch for the lights inside the unit. We want to make sure that we don't have any burnt out lights and that all lights are working properly. Your last switch on the bottom here is going to be your driver light switch. We'll turn that on and make sure that our light is turned on. This is going to be on the outside of the unit. Typically, it is over top of our dump station hookup or a black and gray tank hookup. Now that we've disconnected from the city water connection, it is time to test the functions of the water pump. So we're going to put water in the freshwater tank. When we have water in that freshwater tank, we're going to turn on the water pump, and that's going to build pressure at each one of our faucets. So when we turn the faucet on, it will release the water, build up pressure. When we turn the faucet off, you'll hear the water pump run briefly for a few seconds. Once it's retained that pressure, the water pump will shut off automatically. The next step would be to test the functions of the generator. We would do a simple start and stop of the generator to ensure that it is running and runs smoothly. Once your generator is starting, you're going to test all the 120 volt systems in your motorhome. We're just going to do a quick test to ensure that the microwave works and making sure that it runs for the full 30-second duration. We have two types of fridge freezers in our rental fleet. We either have a 12 volt system like we have here, or a three-way system that will run off of propane being plugged into shore power, 120 volt system, or running off of the 12 volt system as well. So this fridge here that we have an example of is a 12 volt fridge freezer. Really the only indicators here are the indicator lights on the inside. If you do have a fault light that shows up on the inside of your fridge freezer and you know it's a 12 volt fridge freezer, try turning the master power switch off and then back on. That will do a hard reset on the system itself. Otherwise, if there's no indicator light on, then you will know that this fridge freezer is working correctly. Also, you can feel the back end, you can feel the cooling coils to ensure that those are cold, as well as getting colder while you are doing this system's pre-check. And same goes with the freezer. Our other system, you'll either run off of the 30 amp plugged into power 120 volt system, or checking these functions off of the propane. Two ways of doing that: making sure that you are plugged into power on the outside of the camper, going into your fridge freezer, selecting the electric element, making sure that you're looking at those indicator lights, ensuring that the fridge is running properly off of the electric system. As well as when you have the propane turned on, testing the functions on the propane side for the fridge freezer, you would turn it to the propane selection. You can hear the propane ignite for the fridge freezer, as well as you can look at the indicator lights showing you that it is properly lit and is staying lit. Now we need to test the stovetop to ensure that each stovetop burner ignites. Make sure that your propane is turned on before you try to test this. So we'll turn the light on, use this igniter, make sure that each burner turns on, as well as we're going to test the high and low functions of each burner to ensure that each one is working properly. When you have your AC turned on by the control panel on the back here, you're going to want to make sure that you're putting your hand up to the vents, ensuring that cool air is actually flowing out of the vents. There's no blockage in the filter, as well as you want to listen for that condenser to really turn on when you turn on the AC unit itself. Likewise, when testing the furnace, you're going to turn the furnace on the control panel in the back. Once you hear that fan blowing, wait a few minutes. Make sure you're reaching down by any of the furnace vents to ensure that your furnace has ignited properly. We're going to test the TV functions, making sure that the remote works for the unit, as well as we're going to test the buttons on the TV itself. Park on a level surface, engage the parking brake, and turn the key to the accessory position. Before operating, check that the area inside and outside is clear of any obstacles. Locate the slide out switch and press out to extend. Watch for smooth, even movement without any unusual noises. To retract, press in and ensure it closes evenly and fully against the motorhome. If the motorhome fails any of the systems checks, please let your location manager know so it can be fixed before the next rental. Now that your service pre-check is done, it's time to start cleaning the interior of the motorhome. Washing the exterior of the motorhome. For this step, you're gonna need these things: your exterior wash soap, your window cleaner, your bug wash if necessary, and some water. The following items will need to be included with every motorhome rental: power cord, sewer hose, wheel chocks, and toilet paper and chemical. Following these steps will ensure that each motorhome is successfully prepped to be ready for rent.